There's my stuff. I got my stuff. And I'm fixed. I'm finally fixed. I'm under a bridge. It's a pretty long bridge. It's like, if you can see how far it goes, I don't see any gas stations. One guy told me that there's a stretch here that's about 47 miles of nothing. I'm like, man, I better bring some water. It'll be a long stretch to walk. Might take me a couple days. But there's dragons under this bridge, man. Let me show you. Look at this dragon. Yeah, that's a dragon. Look at him. Look at him. Looks like a dragon to me. That's a dragon. Or it might be an alligator gar. You never know. Let me see if I can articulate. Here, I'll give you a picture of me. Articulate what I was thinking about earlier. And I'm sitting under this bridge, right? And if I had any karmic history, you know, bad history of bridges, or being under a bridge, for example, which I really don't, then, you know, we could call that my bad karma, right? And it's like, but then I was thinking, you know, there's not much that I'm afraid to do. It seems like I'm okay with any possibilities, and that's really kind of a product of that enlightenment experience that I had in the storage unit. Because after that, I went and got a job at a cooling tower in Baytown, Texas, climbing 60 feet up on redwood 4x4s. Found myself in a steamy forest in the middle of Houston, which I had asked for. I wanted to go to Northern California and visit a guru there, where the redwoods are at. He had an ashram there, and that was before the storage unit. And so right after the storage unit, I find myself in a steamy redwood forest, but it's not the kind of forest that I thought it would be. Really kind of ironic. The winky dinks. But anyway, not to get off the subject, karma. You know, karma is like a two-edged sword. And if in fact I did transcend my karma in the storage unit with my enlightenment experience, then I can go either way. You know, and so can the karma. In other words, maybe even past life karmas, like what all of my ancestors have done before, you know, and that if I'm in a situation that they were in, you know, I can draw on their karmic experience, for example, and adapt to the situation, and everything's fine. So that's an example of good karma, you know, or karma that you can use. I remember the story about Ramana Maharshi, and he had elbow cancer, and one of his followers reminded him one day. He said, well, why don't you use someone else's arm? Why don't you use someone else's elbow? And Ramana replied by saying, oh yeah, I forgot about that, kind of thing. And I'm like, I really had to think about that for a while. It's like, what was he talking about? And it's kind of like that. It's like all of these experiences that I've had in my life, you know, 9 states and 25 schools, growing up with a single parent father that was a traveling salesman and kind of a playboy. And so we got to go all over the place with Dad, me and my brother Danny. Danny had his own karma, and I had my karma. And it was like, I just feel like I've done so much already that it's like, well, you know, I'm having a real difficult time settling for, uh, I don't know, different lifestyles. I'm walking down the highway and I'm seeing a billboard that says new homes, you know, in the low 300s, in the low $300,000 range, right? And I'm thinking, and I'm looking over at these houses, and they're just like one after another, after another, after another, and I'm like, there's no way, you know. It's just like, I don't know how people do it, but it's like maybe they're young in their life cycles or something. I really don't. I don't know what would possess someone to, you know, spend $400,000 on a house that looks like the one next door, you know, in a neighborhood that just, you know, it's all the grass is green and everybody's doing the same thing to their yards, and I mean, and all the kids going to the same school, and on and on and on, you know. It's just like, what? So it's like, when I get into some suffering karma, you know, some suffering succotash, I like to call it, it's like I can use the other side of the blade of karma and get myself out of the situation and realize that, you know, that really an alternative life while I'm still here in this situation. And that's where I think Ramana was kind of going. And it's like, you know, the two-edged sword. And so if in fact enlightenment does, as they say, transcend your karma, then you're allowed to rise above your karma and go beyond to areas that, you know, you may have lived in a past life. I used to really not believe in past life stuff, but I've looked at so much evidence and so much first-hand accounts, you know, of people having seen their ancestral heritage all the way back. I told one story that my brother had told me right before this journey I'm on, where a lady had died for 30 minutes and they revived her with no brain damage, and she remembered what happened, and she had seen her past lives all the way back through all of her ancestors till they were not even recognizable. There were so many. And it's like, wow. And so can we utilize that? You know, are we here to, through enlightenment, utilize all of our past lives to really have a kind of a universal conscious experience of all of it? And if so, I mean, but, you know, pragmatically, you know, it's not just, oh yeah, it's all bubbles and soap, but waking up, you know, in the woods somewhere with, you know, a few options, you know, like walking over a bridge when it's 120 degrees, or staying under a bridge, you know, that's quite a bit cooler. And it's like, I don't know, it's not so much, maybe it is imagination, you know, but what is that imagination? What is imagination? Is it not coming from some kind of karmic purchase, you know, that we purchase these karmic, and therefore into this current life, you know, we have invested all of those past lives into this current reality, and that it's really, in that sense, it's really unlimited. And if that's the case, then and you can still continue to walk and feel liberated, you know, really liberated, like regardless of the current situation, regardless of the challenges or the hurdles or the heat or the 5G or the whatever, right? So it's just a thought. but it may have come from many thoughts. It may have come from many lifetimes. And I did have some liberating thoughts. I thought, man, I'm sitting right here, but shit, I can do anything. You know, I'm old. I've got all kinds of experience. You know, I could go be a dishwasher in Florida, you know, and catch a boat, a deckhand job on a boat to the Bahamas. You know, there's all of these possibilities, and if I just, you know, flow with it and stay open to that two-edged sword of karma, you know, it's like we don't necessarily have to burn the karmic house down forever. Or I feel like I did that in my enlightenment experience in the storage unit, and I was absolutely liberated, and therefore I went and got a job that I would never have considered getting prior to that. So I mean, I'm still in this life. I'm still in this bodily thing, you know. So it's like making this enlightenment experience a little more pragmatic, a little more realistic, and yet, you know, still having the potential of a toroidal plasma antenna exodus, as Dan Winter talks to us about, and love, and all of it, you know. So it's like having everything. It's not just having the spiritual side, it's having the mind and the body side. And that the mind and the body definitely have been born, come into existence with some kind of precognition or pre-experience. So I mean, really, it's like, and then you know, these stark moments are the ones that are the catalysts for these kinds of thoughts. If I'm comfortable all the time sitting in a lounge chair, sitting in front of the TV, eating popcorn, you know, I'm not gonna, there's not a catalyst there. So I'm like a zombie. I'm staying there, you know. I'm not doing nothing else. That's it, man. Shut up, I'm watching TV. You know, bring me some more popcorn. Anywho, it makes me happy to have these talks with myself and with you. And you know, I'm so old with so much experience that it's really selfish to think that this is all about me, and it's not. And I'm reminded of that every time I get in front of somebody, every time I see these people suffering this heat and the turmoil and the karma and the one side of their sword. Every time I see somebody doing that, it's like, man, let me show you the other side. Immediately opens my heart. You see that guy? One little flower, but he's got a potential for like 10 more. It's the spiritual Chuck under the bridge. Talk to you later.